the map and mode combo. It looks like Streets is going to be game number 1 with a little bit of King of the Hill. We saw some Oddball here. We saw some Slayer. It was our first time to see King of the Hill. What do you think is going to be the strategy for Complexity? They played very aggressive in the last series. Do we see them playing at full speed again here?
Yeah, I think for Complexity, you just got to play your game. You don't want to switch up too much. Is that what it is? Well, that's great. I get to see exactly what Monster prepares himself with. I don't know what that video was, but
it's a little Zen. I don't know.
Yeah, but no, nonetheless, it was really impressive last week when Complexity went up against Optic Gaming, needing to upset Optic Gaming to feel a lot better about their seeding positioning going into DreamHack Dallas. And that win against Optic jumped them from 11 to 7. The strides that we saw Complexity take, not only in the seedings, but just by watching them play last week, was unbelievable, as so much could change here this weekend. You really got to look at the overall scheme of things. Even Optic isn't safe this week. Imagine if Optic didn't play this week, they would have almost been guaranteed to have lost that #1 spot. But now if FaZe were to win this week, like they did last week over Complexity, they would be our #1 seed going into DreamHack Dallas. So Complexity from 11 to 7, FaZe from 2 to 1, and Native, White Red, G1 at 4, 5, 6. Like, there is so much seeding disparity and positioning yet to play out, despite the fact that we're getting pretty close to DreamHack Dallas.
Yeah, a couple of teams that are really close is the two you mentioned there, Native Red, Native White there. Native White is at the 4 and Native Red at 5, but only 290 points between them. Sheesh. So today's positioning quite literally decides that 4 or 5 seed for them, or maybe if they bump up even further, because we know they're capable of it.
And that's the spot in the seedings magic that you have to look out for, is the 4-5 disparity, because 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to take the #1 seed in each of the respective ABCD pools. So if you're a Native Red and you stick with that 5th place finish, you play against Native White again and you lose to Native White, that is going to be Native White securing a #1 seed for DreamHack Dallas. So there is so much on the line here in today's tournament. You might think, oh, well, we had a 4K last week, that's a 2K this week, just online. No. You got to come to play, because these points are crucial.
Points are so crucial right now, more than ever. The closer we get to those LAN tournaments, and especially with the invitational that relies on points to even get to the tournament. Now, as a quick way to kind of bring it back to what we're watching right now, remember that today, this bracket continues into Thursday. Today, we're going to get to the top 8, 4 from the upper bracket, 4 from the lower bracket, and then we'll pick up from there on Thursday. So some of these matchups we're talking about, Sentinels versus Rebellion, they're close. Native White versus Native Red, or even more importantly, FaZe Optic for the #1 seed. A lot of those matchups, we'll see a little preview of it today, but more coming up on Thursday. So make sure to mark your calendar for the last 2K before we get to land. On board right now with Cycle, early time on the hill. Would you be surprised? It's the #26 seed GSquad with the first objective time.
And I'm not surprised at all, Magic, because you look at a guy like Dark Matter, he has experience competing on pro teams, and don't sleep on Ty as Reverb, because he, the #1 ranked HCS free-for-all player, an 18-time free-for-all finalist last year on LAN. This guy was continuously finding himself in the winner circle, in the top 8. So this Ty gamer is absolutely cracked, very individually skilled.
Yeah, Reverb does a lot of that free-for-all competition, and honestly, meeting him at LAN, I believe, is at Worlds, just one of the friendliest people that you'll meet. And you wouldn't be able to tell that from his gameplay, right? Because he's very focused, he's very fierce. But if you get a chance to meet Reverb in person, I highly recommend. Good vibes all around. Looking forward to see what this GSquad roster can bring to the table, as they did get that early time on the hill, but it's answered back now by Complexity. Yuzi was, I believe, on a killing spree. I think I saw the 5-0 before the first death. And a big part of why GSquad had that opening lead.
And at the halfway mark, GSquad has numbers advantage and has Complexity on spawn. Rockets up now, but Cycle gets the back of his opponent, gets the front face of Ty, and potentially a triple here on Dark Matter. But no, Cycle with no shields allows his teammate to clean that up. I love that decision making there. Could have gone for the extra slay, could have padded the stat sheet a little bit, but instead Cycle prioritized staying alive. Great play.
great play, and it opened up Collect with the Rockets and Stalker. No BR in sight. And it's Collect and Cycle working together from opposite sides of the map, pinching onto this objective as the first hill goes to Complexity. They might have lost the early lead, but they're right back to where they want to be. Collect with the Stalker. Perfect kill. Needed that kill because was at risk of running out of ammo if he didn't find a quick swap, and he is not done. It's the killing spree for Collect.
Yeah, we talked about objective efficiency. Now it's efficiency of the Stalker, and Shotgun there is with one shot left. The melee connects on Dark Matter. Collect putting on a clinic with one of my favorite combinations of sandbox in the game, Stalker Shotgun.
There was a time when we talked about what do you prefer, Stalker Shotgun or Rockets, and I think time and time again, even with the ammo reduction from Season 3, Stalker Bulldog combo is still dangerous. But you know what? One thing is going to stay true no matter what level we're playing at, and that's you gotta close your lobbies, everybody. We had a random 9th player joining in, but it looks like we're right back on track. Complexity looking to go up 2-0 as they secure the next hill, and Reaper might be a strong free-for-all player, but in a 1v2 is going to be too much for him as he's taken down.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen for the most part. Numbers advantage for Complexity throughout this game. We've seen some glimmer of hope or some points being scored for this GSquad roster, but Complexity once again showing why they're that newly minted 7 seed, finding themselves as one of the top 8 teams in the world. Got to remember, placed top 8 at HCS Charlotte, but I just go back to that tournament magic, and with Quadrant and Native Red not having their full rosters, that Complexity top 8 was really like could have been a top 12 or top 16. So Complexity gonna have to fight to earn that top 8 once again, as I do believe they have the roster to do it.
Certainly gunning for it in today's tournament, and then, you know, obviously looking at the Dallas DreamHack qualifier, and then hopefully they can prove it on LAN as well. On board right now with the IGL Tusk, former coach and now player, runs into 3 players from GSquad. Collect might find himself in trouble. In fact, numbers going to GSquad, and it's Monster and Cycle as the last 2 alive. They're getting trapped by the full roster of GSquad. Another kill comes through. Cycle is the last alive, and the team finds a double kill. Does he clutch it up for the triple? He re-engages, and he gets the trade. And that's one of those scenarios where last alive can make that swing play.
Getting to see that survivability on display there. And I love how Cycle not only got that double, but taking one down with him. Now Tusk with the double. Potential triple overkill on planners, but it's going to be an overthrow of grenades, it looks like, as Tusk will go down to that. But it's 4 down again for GSquad, as it looks like Complexity is going to put the finishing touches on this 3rd hill.
Few more seconds for them, and this is one more time I'm going to ask for them to add hash marks to the stronghold bar. I would love to see that broken into thirds. The overall time to capture one of those strongholds is 45 seconds, so every third at the 15-second mark. You kind of have to eyeball it in this case, but one thing that's easy on the eyes is the 3-0 lead that Complexity have locked down. Monster is eliminated, and Collect follows after. GSquad with a brief numbers advantage, and hopefully taking advantage.
Yeah, and this is part of why Complexity is so dangerous. You let Cycle and Collect just sort of cycle around the map and pop off, and then you let Tusk and Monster just kind of get the dirty work done, be the glue. You almost have like a situation where 2 players could be the glue for Complexity, whereas usually it's just one.
Oh no!
So for Complexity, again, love this team composition. Love how you have Cycle and Collect just doing feverish damage numbers, slaying out, but 3 go down for Complexity. Numbers advantage now for GSquad, and those rockets sitting in the cuts, and Zuzi wins those over Cycle. So impressive plays again here from GSquad, but Cycle and Collect just too strong.
It was every player touching the rockets was like the kiss of death. It was like the second you picked up the rockets, you're on the respawn screen, until Monster finally gets to actually put them to work. No time won on the hill by Complexity yet. GSquad have it about 3/4 of the way captured. They need about 10 more seconds of time. Dark Matter with a double frag grenade, the cluster luck, and there's teammate holding the objective as he just needs to stall for time. Why not pick up a kill while you're at it?
Hey, impressive score there for GSquad, doing it emphatically. Not a single second on the board in that duration for Complexity. So for GSquad, again, might not be a winner of this series or even this game, but that is one you can go back on, and you can build on it.
They need to build on this capture. It was 3-0, but one more hill is going to help. But the problem here, Mikowski, is where that 5th hill spawns, right out in the open. And you might think that 2 minutes is plenty of time. Remember that the clock stops when you're standing on the hill, but that's also the problem. It is very difficult to survive on this hill with nearly 0 cover. In fact, neither team has gotten any objective time. That spells trouble for GSquad.
Yeah, you're usually looking at about a minute per hill of clock dwindled off that regulation clock. But here with that bottom mid hill, and it could be even top mid on live fire, any of these middle hills, they really have that mosh pit element where it's almost like a minute 15, minute 20 seconds needed because of that.
Bottom middle on recharge on the camo spawn, right? I think that would apply as well.
Yeah, so any of those mosh pit hills, they increase the average of 1 minute to score to about a minute 15. That's all going to spell trouble for GSquad because they don't have the time, they don't have the slays. Complexity continuing to look strong.
And Complexity are playing for time. You see Tux get that takedown, rotates away from the objective. In fact, Complexity have just refused to even put a foot onto that hill. Definitely playing for the clock instead of the 4th capture. Yuzi gets a nice takedown. Yuzi with 15 kills right now, looking pretty strong on the stat side, but the objective side is what GSquad are missing.
Cycle looking to lock down top, see a potential stalker soon. You have to imagine that's what he might be looking for in addition to additional intel. As 3 players pushing down the right side for that GSquad roster. The numbers advantage is going to be enough to take down Collect. Is it enough to take down Cycle? Can he take down 2 in a 1v2 situation? Yes, Cycle doesn't need the numbers advantage. He's strong enough with himself, goes down eventually, but a huge play there to take down 2.
Strong-armed against the double team for the double kill, and it bought about, probably 15 more seconds off of the clock. We do see GSquad now setting foot on the objective. They have it about half of the way captured, but they've lost more than half of the time. And now Tusk with a double kill, 22 slays for Cycle, and Tusk as that IGL giving oversight over the map and getting some kills of his own.
I don't know, maybe even most impressively here is the fact that GSquad is right there with it in the slay disparity. -3, -2, 5, 9, -8. So only 2 team wipes separate these 2 teams, and the score reflects itself in the 2 hill disparity. So a really fair played game, I'd say, across the board for each of these 2 teams as we have the final 10 seconds going down on this hill. Not going to go down, though, if GSquad can continue to score, but no, they'll go down. Rockets going to be a moot point as they should go down as well. Despite the aerial rocket attack double kill, that'll do it as Complexity takes down GSquad in game 1.
I mean, I still respect the rocket double kill on the way out of the game. You like to see that connecting, adding a couple slays to the stat bar, but when it comes down to it, it's a nice 3-1 lead, and Complexity locking in those first 3 hills, kind of just rode the wave for the rest of the game, waited out the clock, and now they have GSquad in a little bit of a predicament looking at that game 2, our first time today heading to Aquarius for Slayer.
I almost feel like this has like a land feel in the sense that the level of scrutiny right now that's on this Complexity roster, right? Like every single professional has their, and every single fan of Halo has their eyes set on this Complexity team right now, and specifically Monster. So this that's why it feels a little bit like LAN, and that the pressure feels almost LAN-like for this Complexity roster facing these accusations. And Monster with the hand cam, with the GoPro headband cam, doing his best to put those rumors to rest. And I gotta say, so far so good. I'm really curious though to see how he plays against those top teams with extra weight added to his head. That's gonna be difficult.
Can his big brain sustain the weight of the GoPro throughout today's bracket? Stay tuned to find out. No, I'm just kidding. I think that a lot can be proven through like being transparent about what's happening by having the camera attached while you're playing these games. But I think ultimately, no matter what Monster does between now and June the 2nd, it's going to come down to land, right? That's going to be the ultimate question. I think that Monster and hopefully Complexity can make some headway, pun intended, but I think it is going to come down to land in order for maybe the final questions to be resolved around the validity of this new roster.
And I'm all for it. I'm all for anybody being able to, prove that they have what it takes to play against the world's best in Halo, right? And I kind of feel like this is like a little trickle-down effect to that where you got to prove that you're legit. So here on LVT Halo side, we're not, saying one way or the other where we fall or lie in this. We're just here to report and cover the Halo community and all the interesting stories and side quests we have within it.
Well, I like the idea of side quests. That's an interesting analogy. You wouldn't normally see a side quest in a first-person shooter, but like all these little side stories really just add to the overall picture of what is the HCS competitive scene as we head for the first time to Aquarius today. Game number 2, Slayer on board with Monster himself as he's tracking kill after kill. He knows there's a player back at Fridge as he tosses the plasma, loses track of them, and instead finds those tracking dynamo grenades. Gonna kind of stall his shield regen. Early 2 kills here from Complexity, but still a bit of a scramble in the early stages.
Oh, and a good job there by GSquad burning the camo, negating and minimizing sort of this hot start for Complexity. Could have been 4-0 with that camo. Instead, it's 3-1 with camo burn. So not a great start here for Complexity, but I think for GSquad, a good start in that you stay in it.
They're staying in the fight. They're staying within reach, which ultimately was their downfall in game 1. It was the first hill that one hurt because GSquad had the early lead. It was the second one, but it was 3 in a row. That really was the undoing for GSquad. So if they can stay in the fight like they are right now, only 2 kills down, that could lead to a late game comeback. But as I say it, 2 more are added. In fact, it's a triple kill. Oh
wow.
No, Cycle taking GSquad out of the equation.
Oh, look at Cycle here, responsible for 7 out of 9 kills for Complexity.
No way.
Unbelievable. That is if you can be a part of 25% of the slays, you're having a good game. Here we have 75% just about for Cycle as he continues to have a great tournament so far.
And Reverb, I gotta shout out a nice little double kill right there, keeping GSquad within 1 team wipe. Cycle finds another kill, looking for the double. Happy to take the assist. That's what Cycle's been doing throughout, not just this series, but last series, even last weekend, where he would set up kills. He's dealing out the damage, but not overextending, over pushing, not getting too greedy for the kills. As GSquad find themselves trapped at the back of the base, they're gonna rotate to P2 because of the camo spawn coming in. It's Cycle versus Reverb at the back of the base.
Cycle versus Reverb, and he lets Monster clean it up. Cycle let Monster know he had the damage and instantly started repositioning to top mid, wasting no time.
Oh, a couple extra shots.
And letting Zuzi know about it there as puts a couple extra shots into him, a couple extra kills for Complexity, have them up 10.
It was just a 4-point game, Mikowski, and now look at it, 12 points and climbing for Complexity. Absolutely huge round of slays, and we've been on the winning POV, sticking here on board with Cycle throughout.
Cycle with another kill, another double. No, but it's Tusk getting the help. Tusk getting the double instead. And Complexity putting on an Aquarius clinic right now is...
And again,
Cycle gets another. Oh my God, Cycle's decision making here. You got to know when to hold him, when to fold him. Right now, Cycle looking like one of the best Texas Hold'em players in the world, as every single decision he makes to engage results in a kill. Every decision to disengage usually results in him staying alive. Goes down right there, but again, it's not even the slayability for Cycle that I'm impressed with. It's that survivability from the young player, showing that he's wise beyond his years.
Yeah, Cycle with only 2 deaths to his name, where everyone else on the roster is doubled up at 4. I mean, overall, Complexity is playing very strong, but you gotta keep your sights set onto Cycle. I have to think that Cycle is thriving with these roster changes. The way that he is able to really showcase his individual talent, but also the teamwork is at another level from what we saw before Collect and Monster were added to this roster. And I know that you said last weekend, Cycle plus Collect equals to John Wick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. And you got to give credit again to Ashes and Complexity. They've built this roster around the Young Gun Cycle. And that is a lot of hope and faith to put in an 18, 19-year-old kid, right? Unproven at that rate up until this point, where we're starting to see why he's one of the best young players in the league. But yeah, again, got to give Complexity credit for seeing something in this Young Gun. Took a lot of different variations of this roster to really feel like you're in a comfortable spot as an organization, but the likes of Ashes has the grit and the experience to find the right fit, as he's done just that here with this Complexity roster.
on board right now with Monster. The 12-point lead for Complexity. One thing from GSquad is they've kind of stabilized right here at that 12-point down mark, but they haven't kind of chipped into that lead, and that's what they need to do here as we reach the end stages of this game number 2 Slayer. Still a 12-point difference as 36 points for Complexity, 14 away from the win. Collect trying to stay alive, but with no health. What a perfectly placed frag. It actually detonated mid-air for the takedown. Monster now finds himself similarly trapped. This is what we're talking about, GSquad. If they can cut this lead to 10, but no, they're still holding at 11.
Yeah, and every time it looks like there's going to be a little pressure for GSquad, they end up getting pressure from Complexity. It's usually Collect and Cycle just flying around this map. Reckless abandon, no cause for concern, but now it's Monster getting in the mix with a triple of his own.
Oops.
As he nades his teammate off spawn. You know, that's like me, right? You make a great play in matchmaking, and then the next thing you know, you're killing a teammate.
Yeah, this is why we don't team up in Halo. I don't want to catch any stray frags, okay? Listen, Collect doesn't seem any the worse for wear, though. He regens that shield, gets into the fight, gets the melee takedown. Monster deals out damage to multiple targets. Might see an assist come through. Cycle can collapse on that kill, but I know we've been talking about it, but I have to shout out Cycle again. 11 kills and 11 assists. That's 22. That's exactly half of the slays in the game where Cycle was a participant. Hopefully he can get right back into that fight. Camo spawning up and it's top mid control. GSquad might be able to sneak away this camo, but I don't think even that's going to be enough.
And Cycle is looking at a Team Slayer performance here where he has a double-digit kills and assists, less than double-digit deaths. And amazingly enough, he's going to end up with more assists, assuredly. 13 assists in this game, 11 kills, only 8 deaths. Cycle having a performance of the day there with that showing kills and assists, deaths. The triple-double from the young gun has Complexity up 2-0.
I know we're hype about the triple-double, but could he have gotten one more killer assist just because I wanted that even 50%? He comes out with 11 slays, 13 assists, adds up to 24. I just wanted to see the 25. Okay? I just want to see exactly half. But nonetheless, it's Complexity with the 50-36. Credit to GSquad. I don't think we're giving them enough credit because they do avoid that stay-tacular. And it was at the point mid-game where Complexity went up by 12. They ended up adding a little bit for the ultimate 14-point lead. That's where it was a game over for GSquad. Very familiar in the rhythm from game 1 to game 2, where right about mid-game, all of a sudden Complexity just take off and they can't be stopped.
Yeah, and this is where you might start having some regret for letting go of Collect. I know that, you know, it's mostly about team composition. It's not necessarily a skill issue for Collect as to why he was dropped from Sentinels, but yeah. I feel like with every passing day, getting to see him perform, you kind of just have to wonder, like, man, could we not have made it work out with this guy? Like, goddamn! Like now he's jumping us in the seedings right now. I believe this Complexity roster is above Sentinels. So in one fell swoop, you've not only lost one of the best players in the league, but you're falling back in the standings because of it. So for Sentinels, I know that's they're not here in the series, but it's all cause and effect. It's all a trickle down, right? There's so many. It's almost like that conspiracy theory where you got the board and you got the crazy guy from It's Always Sunny. Like, here's where that is literally the Halo community right now with the roster mania, the drama around Monster, right? The APG streams. Can Optic hold on to the #1 spot? Will FaZe come in and steal it? There is so much to discuss here today, and these players are giving us one hell of a show.
If you pull at those threads, those thumbtacks and yarns too much, it all leads back to G1. You're That's responsible, true. Actually. No, the first roster change and then the trickle down effect from there. But you mentioned Sentinels, right? Collect was dropped from that roster. I think it was all good. It wasn't like bad blood or anything from everything that we saw. It just seemed like they're trying to find the right fit. And you mentioned how close are they in seeding? We know that Complexity is 7. You want to hazard a guess for where Sentinels is?
Where's that?
They're at 8. They're at 8.
Ooh.
They're the next on the list. So very interesting between those roster changes and how it has impacted the overall seeding. And here's Collect showing us what he's capable of with the double kill, with the opening killing spree. And Complexity are coming out in game number 3 strong and ready to take the sweep.
Hey, there it is. It wasn't the overkill, but it's the one better. The double-double, sending that GSquad squad back to the river in a staggered succession. So Collect not able to earn himself the overkill, but keeps this GSquad team staggered because of it. Complexity able to build a strong 30-1 lead. Collect taking faces.
Double kill.
He's not stopping until the sniper is spent from ammo. Collect 7-0 with some beautiful lined up headshots, and even more importantly, impacting the game as Complexity have only allowed 1 second of objective time to take pass for GSquad.
Oh man, and Collect, he's gonna be full because he just ordered a double off the menu from Wendy's. 3 double kills back to back with that sniper rifle as he eventually goes down, starting off this match 7-0 before that death. Collect, oh man, you're going back and forth now. Cycle's gonna be your all-star in the previous game. Now you got Collect playing as an all-star, all the while Tusk and Monster like Gorilla Glue fitting into this Complexity roster. The perfect composition. This is a team to watch out for. If there's anyone in the upper side of that 6, 7, 8 of the top 8, it's this Complexity roster is the one you got to watch out for.
Complexity is the team to take down right now, and it goes all the way from the top of the list. If you're Optic, you gotta worry about Complexity. Hopefully learning your lesson from last weekend. If you're FaZe, you know that they are here for the fight with that. I believe it was a Game 7 Grand Finals, if I'm remembering correctly, from last weekend. So Complexity are giving everyone a run for their money here with these roster changes, and Collect 10-2 in this game finally is taken down, but gets right back to the fight with the grenade and then the cleanup onto Dark Matter. Falls back for just a brief moment, regens some shield, tosses out the frag. That should find the kill. And then now looking at that key door, finds another takedown, the repulsor to flush the opponent out of cover.
And look at Collect's utilization of the sandbox here. Gets a couple pew-pews out with the plasma pistol. That'll get you some damage. Repulsor into the wall, a couple more damage. And then I'm going to finish off with the battle rifle. Collect using 3 tools in his kit. That's exactly why Cycle and Collect equal John Wick, because if you've seen those movies, you know he can kill anybody with anything.
And that's what is happening right now as Collect secures yet another double kill. Meanwhile, Cycle's locking down the other side. It's Cycle and Collect as the 2 lines of defense, and Collect is single-handedly stopping all of GSquad. He's gotten 3 kills in a row, and now Cycle trading in. He tags out, says, let me take a shot at it, but instead, it's Reverb who finds the back smack. I think it's too little too late. The last desperate approach, but only 2 seconds needed, and the double snipe from Collect is gonna put the finishing touches on round 1.
Oh my god! Oh my god, I'm counting that as an overkill for Nighty Night. Spam it in the chat. Collect with a no-HUD overkill. Unbelievable final play from him. No scope. No scope.
1, 2. Where's the third?
Into the nose, or into the body melee. Unbelievable. I'm counting overkills in the chat. Unreal play there from Collect as it starts off unreal again. A team wipe for Complexity. They're starting to hit their form.
I'm sorry, GSquad. We know you have some strong players, but it's no match for Complexity. Collect ended with an unofficial overkill, and now with the tools to do it again. That sniper back in Collect's hands as he's looking for the takedown. He's gonna find the angle for the assist, the double assist, maybe the triple assist. If Reverb is taken down, 3 assists in a row, he can get the overkill on Slays. He can almost get the over assist.
Collect at this point looks like he's raiding and just he's the DPS role, but no.
Yeah.
He is the raid boss. 18-5-3. Collect absolutely popping off here with the snipe, with the battle rifle. Hell, he's even popping off with the plasma pistol magic. There is nothing wrong that Collect can do, and it's amazing to think that at one point just weeks ago, this guy wasn't even on a team.
Not even hesitating. The second that sniper was out of ammo, he grabs the assault rifle. Remember that utility of being able to use a little bit of everything, but it's almost the Achilles heel finally being found. It takes a clean back smack in order to stop that spree. 4 go down for Complexity, and with his dying breath, Monster sends a repulsor to kind of set up almost a play here for GSquad. They need to capitalize now.
I am marveling at the story for Collect. Let's recall, on that SSG, that defunct SSG roster that once had Tylenol and Ace as the leading duo, Collect was on that team as well, and he was kind of the scapegoat for that SSG squad. So it wasn't until Try
Yeah.
I wouldn't say saved Collect's season, but saw something in Collect, added him to that Oxygen roster before the Halo World Championship, where Collect got 5th, 6th. What is going? Why? What is going? How does Collect always end up being the odd man out on these teams when he could be the best player on these teams? It's incredible. We don't have enough time to really break down the story arc for Collect, but incredible to note that he was about to, at one point, not make it to the Halo World Championship, and at one point, just a week ago, a free agent. What are we doing?
HCS Season 2 is the redemption arc for Collect, and honestly, even though we're still, early on in the season, we've only had one major, we've only had one LAN tournament. Already Collect is making a name for himself. I mean, look right now, 20-6 with 8 assists. He has the most kills, the most assists, and the least amount of deaths on the team. And we spent time talking about Cycle as deservedly. It's Cycle and Collect. Either of them could be the story maker.
I'm gonna sound so faded for this, but it's giving FaZe vibes, where if Frosty doesn't pop off, Renegade's gonna pop off. If Snakebite has a best game, then Royal 2 has his best game right after that. Somehow, some way, this Complexity roster has found a way to have a similar team comp to the likes of FaZe.
Yeah, I don't know if you're sick of us talking about Cycle and Collect, but you better just get used to it, because this is the story, and it's looking like it's going to continue to be the story. You better keep an eye on these players, because we're gonna keep on talking about them. Cycle now has that sniper in hand, 5 rounds left. 2 players from GSquad. It might take both of them to take him down, but even with that, it's Collect cleans up on 1 kill. Reverb is weak at the bottom of scoreboard, doesn't get traded out. He is able to regen, but all he does is hop back up, and he meets the snipe from Tusk. Reverb with a great survival on scoreboard after receiving 2 sniper body shots.
Oh my god. And then he makes the play to throw the ball off. That was so well timed, so smart. And it looks like Collect stays alive. He finally goes down, but not before trading out. So Collect, he plays smart. He hits all of his shots. I'm trying not to swoon over this gamer here, but with their performance like this, with heads up plays like that, how do you not love what you're seeing from Collect?
It's the Halo plays that make Mikowski swoon right there. You're gonna have to, put hearts around Collect's name on your notebook.
It was the recognition, knowing, just the split second they went down in numbers, he turned his head to throw that oddball off. That is the timing and efficiency that I stress so much when I talk about objective efficiency. Collect, not only playing the best from a stats perspective, but he's playing the smartest, most heady Halo because of it. Pure domination from the likes of Complexity as they take the game 2-0, take this series 3-0. Complexity continuing to climb.
All right, you heard it here, everybody. Collect plus Cycle on this Complexity roster is a team to fall in love over, because they are looking beautiful and ready to take on the rest of today's bracket, potentially even leading into Thursday, where the top 8 are going to be duking it out for the bulk of those seeding points. Here's the play from Collect. Break it down for us, Mikowski. What do you love about this player?
The centering there, first of all, is what opens up those 2 body shots. And then look at this. Throws the nade to the left, but because he has overshield, knows that he doesn't have to worry about that player to the left. It's going to be that grenade, almost like sending it out like a second teammate to do that damage. So the prioritization of opponents there from Collect was absolutely perfect. You would have thought maybe one or the other was the player to focus on. It was the succession. It was the process for Collect that was perfectly played out. Because of it, he stayed alive all throughout and hit all of his shots. Unbelievable there from Collect. Incredible play. We are getting word from a production that maybe there was a crash at the very last stages of the game, so it's not officially over yet. We'll give you an update on that ruling when we get back. I think it's fairly obvious from everybody watching that this has been a decisive series for Complexity, and them looking at like maybe their best, maybe looking even better than what we saw in the 4K, where they started to force those upsets. Most notably, they won this series in game 5 over Optic to send Optic to the lower bracket. It was early in the series. I want to say it was quarterfinals, or maybe even the round before that. I'm gonna go back. It was semifinals. The game 5 Complexity upset over Optic, and they end up as that number 2 spot overall. And do you think that, I'm gonna ask you this, Mikowski, do you think Complexity looks better today than they did last week? Yeah, they do. Oh, absolutely. You can see that they've had an extra week of VOD review, an extra week of scrims, seeing it all come to form here. in today's tournament. And I go back to that winners finals against Optic Magic where Complexity won in game 5. However, Complexity at one point up 2-0 in that series. And I got to make the argument, Complexity's game 5 3-2 win was more impressive than if they were to 3-0 Optic. The reason being, you got to see a little pushback. let me be faded. The reason being, Optic kind of started to look like they were lying down a little bit. Optic started to look like they were almost like playing not to lose. They were kind of like playing for their day to be over. They just wanted to like go do something else. Those games 4 and 5 where Optic won 2 in a row, now you got to see a counter from Optic. Now you get to see Optic's best, and you handled it if you're Complexity. So I think for them, absolutely a more impressive sequence, stopping the reverse sweep from Optic as opposed to just sweeping Optic 3-0 instead.
Interesting. Okay. All right. A little bit of a hot take, but I'm on board with what you're saying. They need to be able to beat teams when the opponent is at their best, right? They don't want to take easy wins on anybody. They want to be able to match with them neck and neck and win out the battle with your opponent being at their best. And the official ruling here for this reset is that Complexity need 40 seconds, and that would mean that GSquad need the full 100. So it was a 40-second advantage on round number 2. Complexity are up 1-0 for rounds, and they're looking for 40 seconds, and that clock is going by quickly. Now you add Monster dodging the plasma pistol shot to keep his overshield alive, finding the double kill.
And I got to give credit to this GSquad roster for wanting the smoke after that decisive look like 2-0 win on Oddball. They said, no. Let's reset. Let's play this one out fully. Let's give ourselves a chance. But Complexity, they might only need one chance, one oddball hold to take this reset, needing 40 seconds at the 30-second mark. But just as that happens, 3 go down for Complexity. GSquad is going to get a chance at holding onto some of this oddball.
Yeah, and they need to go pretty much 100-0 at this point, right? Complexity just need one break for 10 seconds. And the first step for GSquad is to take down Colette. They still haven't gotten their hands onto that objective, but Dark Matter rolls through with a kill. Reverb is the last alive. The pinch is in. That's going to be a GG's. Complexity are going to take that series 3-0. But I do respect GSquad for getting back in the fight, not just saying, yeah, let's call it. They want to play. They want to compete, and I respect them for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, you know, you can check out pretty easily when you're playing Halo Infinite ranked matchmaking. Imagine when the stakes are even higher in these HCS tournaments. So a credit there to GSquad for keeping their mentals in it, not going all the way checked out. They might be a little checked, but not all the way checked out, as they're going to have a chance to continue their tournament run. And at the 26th seed, Magic, every team playing here today. So this GSquad roster in the lower bracket has a lot to play for. I as a player, right? Obviously, you want to win every tournament, but for the likes of GSquad, even just improving in seeding, going from 26 to maybe 23 or top 24, finding yourself in that top 24 would be really impressive for them. So despite going down 3-0 to Complexity, this GSquad roster still has plenty to play for and plenty to